Good afternoon. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Talitha Cumi online live program featuring Faith Migrant Solidarity. I am Marie Snap Mabanta, Program Assistant for Migrant Concerns of the National Council of Churches in the Philippines, and also a member of the Secretariat of the Philippine Interfaith Movement Against Human Trafficking, or PIMAT.
I am Khalid Shaifullah, one of the editors of Islam Bergerak and activist of Progressive Islamic Forum in Indonesia. We have done various on-the-ground research and advocacy on the issues of Islam and the urban poor. We are your hosts for today's Talitha Cumi Radio, a faith migrant solidarity hour.
Good afternoon, Khalid. It's nice to co-host with you in this informed program. To our viewers, greetings to everyone. As we Filipinos would say, mabuhay. For today's program, we will be featuring stories of migrant, refugee, and seafarer. They will share with us their stories of their aspiration to belong, yet to be deprived, but to continue to hope. These stories are gathered through the help of APMM and Inform's partners in Bangladesh, Indonesia, and the Philippines. These stories narrate the concrete condition of migrant, refugee, and seafarer before and during COVID-19 pandemic crisis. It shows their already vulnerable situation to abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and modern slavery. How the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with government's policies perpetuating such condition, exacerbated the already vulnerable situation of migrants, refugees, and seafarers.
Okay, our first story features Bangladeshi migrants victims of human trafficking titled Broken Dream. It is a story made possible through the documentation of films For Peace Foundation, a non-profit organization based in Bangladesh whose mission is to manage conflict and end violence through empowering communities and people that are essential to build a peaceful and inclusive societies. From the story, let us meet Ishak, who was studying BBA at a local college in Bangladesh when human traffickers recruited him to be smuggled in Europe. Josna, a mother trafficked in Oman, and Hanif and Russell, ninth and 10th grader, who were also victimized because of their eagerness to help their families and alleviate themselves from the shackles of poverty. They were trafficked to Malaysia and become undocumented migrants.
Thank you, Khalid. Without further ado, let us watch their stories of aspiration, to belong, to be deprived, and to hope.
ওমানে তোমাকে ভালো একটা চাকরি দেওয়া হবে। দিন দিন আমি বললাম যে আমি লেখাপড়া করব, আমি বিদেশ এখন যাব না, কিন্তু সে আমাকে এছাড়াও অনেক বিভিন্ন ধরনের প্রলোভন দেখায়।
ইসহাক স্থানীয় একটি কলেজে বিবিএতে পড়ছিল। মানব পাচারকারীরা তাকে ইউরোপ যাওয়ার স্বপ্ন দেখিয়ে পাচার করে।
অভাবের সংসারের অভাবের কারণে আমি বিদেশে যাই 40,000 টাকা খরচ করে।
অভাব অনটনের সংসার জ্যোৎস্নার। ভালো চাকুরি আর অধিক বেতনের লোভ দেখিয়ে ওমানে নিয়ে যাওয়া হয় তাকে।
বাড়িতে হই না আয় যাইবে পথে তোমারও যাবে কি আর দিন করে তোমারও ইন করে বেন হই।
আব্বা স্যার কাজ করে সংসার চালাইতে পারে না স্যার, এই জন্য আমি বড় আমি বিদেশে যাইলে স্যার পড়ালেখা ছোট ভাই না আছে, পড়ালেখা করাইতে পারবো।
কক্সবাজারের গোয়ালি পালং উচ্চ বিদ্যালয়ের নবম এবং দশম শ্রেণীর ছাত্র হানিফ ও রাসেল মাত্র ২,০০০ টাকায় মালয়েশিয়ায় নিয়ে যাওয়ার প্রলোভন দেখিয়ে এবং অভিভাবক ও আত্মীয় স্বজনদের সাথে প্রকাশ করার না শর্তে গত ২০১৯ সালে জানুয়ারি মাসে সমুদ্রপথে নৌকায় পাচারের উদ্দেশ্যে তুলে দেয়া হয়। বাংলাদেশের অধিকাংশ তরুণ তরুণীদের স্বপ্ন বিদেশে চাকরি করে পরিবারের মুখে হাসি ফোটাবে, কিন্তু দুঃখজনকভাবে কখনো কখনো কিছু অসাধু ব্যক্তি এবং অপরাধী চক্র সহজ সরল এই মানুষদের প্রতারিত করে তাদের প্রত্যাশা ও স্বপ্ন ভঙ্গ করে।
ওমানের শহরের বর্ডারে একটা সিআইডি ক্যাম্প আছে। ওই ক্যাম্পের পিছন দিয়ে আমাদের ছোট যে স্পিরি বোটগুলো আছে, ওই স্পিরি বোর্ডে আমাদেরকে উঠিয়ে দিতে বলে। একটা পর্যায়ে যখন সাগরের মাঝখানে গেল, আরব সাগরে, তখন আর অক্সিজেনে যখন থামিয়ে দেয়, তখন আর অক্সিজেন পাচ্ছিলাম না। তখন মনে হইতেছিল যে আমি মনে হয় আর বাঁচবো না। ইতিমধ্যে বোট থেকে যখন স্পিড শুরু হয়েছে, তখন একজন ছিটকে পড়ে গেছে আমাদের বোট থেকে, তাকে আর তোলা হয়নি।
প্রায় 20.9 মিলিয়নেরও অধিক পুরুষ, নারী ও শিশু মানব পাচারের শিকার। বাংলাদেশের মানব পাচার প্রতিরোধ ও দমন আইন 2012 অনুযায়ী মানব পাচার অর্থ কোনো ব্যক্তিকে ভয় দেখিয়ে বল প্রয়োগ বা প্রতারণার মাধ্যমে তার আর্থ সামাজিক পরিবেশগত বা অন্য কোনো অসহায়ত্বের সুযোগ নিয়ে টাকা পয়সার বিনিময়ে বা অন্য কোনো সুবিধা বা লাভের জন্য তার উপর নিয়ন্ত্রণ আছে এমন কারো সম্মতি নিয়ে বাংলাদেশের ভেতরে বা বাহিরে যৌন শোষণ, শ্রম শোষণ বা অন্য কোনো শোষণ বা নিপীড়নের উদ্দেশ্যে ক্রয় বিক্রয়, সংগ্রহ বা গ্রহণ, নির্বাসন বা হস্তান্তর, চালান বা আটক করা।
ওখান থেকে আমাকে নিয়ে যায় মিনাপ নামে একটা জায়গায়। ওখানে আমাকে ঘরে বন্দি করে। ঘরে বন্দি করার পরে ওখানে আমাকে শারীরিক মানসিক ফিজিক্যালি প্রায় 2 মাস টর্চার করে। আমার পায়ের নখ তুলে ফেলে এবং আমার ফ্যামিলি থেকে ফোন দিয়ে আমার বাবা আমার আম্মার কাছে টাকা 5 লাখ টাকা করে চায়। পরে আমার আম্মা যখন ওখানে আমার 2 লাখ টাকা দেয়, তখন আমারে আবার অন্য কোনো দালালের কাছে বিক্রি করে দেয়। ওখানে নির্যাতন আরো করুন। ওদের নির্যাতন ছিল কারেন্টের হিটার, সুই, প্লাস তারপর প্রস্রাব করানোর একটা পাত্র ছিল যেখানে কারেন্ট দিয়ে প্রস্রাব করাইতো, ওইটা। পরে ওখানেও আমার আম্মা আরো 1 লাখ টাকা দেয়। তারপর রাত্রিবেলা আমাদেরকে একটা কিচেন রুমে রাখছে। এখান থেকে পালানো যাইতো, দরজা খোলা ছিল, আমরা রাত্রবেলা ওখান থেকে পালাই।
আজ সাস্তাবে গো থালতো বাইলে না দেখা হয়ে মানে ইবা দালাল ফুয়া সৈয়দুল্লাহ তাহলে দাহানোর পরে মরছে টিয়াটুয়া মানে হঠাৎ করে তোমার 2000 দেওয়া পারবো। 2000 দিলে তোমার খাদ্য মানে যা দেওয়া পারেন বেকিং বুড়ো মা দিব হয়ে বেকিং আব্বা কিনে দেবে হয়ে তারা টিয়া দিন ফোর মরছে ঘর থাকি গই ঘর থাকানোর পরে ঘর 7 তারিখ বাইরে আরা
এটার বাসাতে 8 তারিখ দিন মাইক্রো একটা আনে মাইক্রো গরি বড়ি ইন্ডোনেশিয়াতে লগি শোনা হারা ইন্ডোনেশিয়া
জবাগানতে আরো মানুষ আসছে তাই তারা 24 জনই 24 জনের পরে বুড়ো তুলে গুড়া বুড়ো এর মাঝে এরা তুলে চলাই মানে হদ্দুর যায় না আবার রাইতের 12 বাজে আর কাম বুট ফার লাগে ঘটনার পরে তো সিপ দেখা লন্ন ভা বর্মার বাহিনী হামলা করছে সিফিককে গিয়ে তারপরে তারা কলগুজিরা সিফ আয়ের বলে হয়ে না আর সিফের লন্ন ভা তো আরো বাহিনী দৌড়ানোর পরে তারপর আর আবার কে রওনা লাগে।
মানুষের স্বপ্ন দেখার কোনো শেষ নাই এবং মানুষ একটা জিনিস ভাবে যে এই সমস্যাগুলোর অন্যের হতে পারে, আমার বোধহয় হবে না। এই ধরনের একটা জিনিস কিন্তু তাদেরকে তাড়না করে এবং যার ফলে তারা এই ট্র্যাপের মধ্যে তারা যায়। তো কাজে এখানে মনে রাখতে হবে যে দুষ্ট চক্র যারা যে দালাল, তারা দে আর দ্য সেলার্স অফ ড্রিম। তারা স্বপ্ন তারা বিক্রি করে এবং স্বপ্ন বিক্রি করতে গিয়ে তারা মোহাবিষ্ট করে ফেলে। এবং যারা আপাতভাবে যারা শিক্ষিত, যাদেরকে মনে হয় যারা শিক্ষিত, যে কাণ্ডজ্ঞান সম্পন্ন, সেই লোকগুলিও কিন্তু সেখানে গিয়ে তারা এই তাদের ফাঁদে পা দিচ্ছে।
ওমানে যাওয়ার পর আমাদেরকে দিয়ে পাঠিয়েছিল বাসা বাড়ির কাজের জন্য। অফিস ঘরে নিয়ে যায় নামিয়ে আনার পর এখন ওখানে আমাদেরকে রাইতে ছবি দেখে 2 লক্ষ টাকা দিয়ে আমাদেরকে কিনে নিয়ে যায়। কিনে নিয়ে যাওয়ার পর আমাদেরকে গুদাম ঘরে আটকে হয়। 3 মাস যখন আমি হয়ে গেল, আমার মৃত্যুর দিকে আমি আগিয়ে এলাম, আমার শরীর আল চলছে না। তখন আমি কান্নাকাটি শুরু করে দিলাম যে আমি দেশে ফিরে যেতে চাই, আমি ছেলে মেয়ের কাছে ফিরে যেতে চাই। তখন আমাকে তাদের অফিসে নিয়ে যায় ফেলে দিয়ে আসে। অফিসে তখন বলছে যে আবার অন্যবার সাথে তোকে কাজে দিব, না হলে তোকে ছাদ থেকে ফেলে দেবো, না হলে তোকে মোটরের গাড়ির মধ্যে চাকার মধ্যে ফেলে দিয়ে পিষে মেরে ফেলবো, দিয়ে গুম করে দেবো। বিভিন্ন রকমের আমাকে এখন অফিসে শাস্তি দেয়, অত্যাচার করে। এখন ওই অত্যাচার সহ্য করতে না পেরে এখন আমি নিজে চাকু নিজের বুকে মারি।
মানব পাচারের কারণ: অদক্ষতা, সচেতনতার অভাব, দারিদ্র্য, তরুণদের চাকুরির সুযোগ কম। এবং সঠিক তথ্য না থাকায় মানব পাচারের অন্যতম কারণ। পাশাপাশি মানব পাচার প্রতিরোধ ও দণ্ড আইন ২০১২ এর সঠিক প্রয়োগ না থাকায় এবং বিভিন্ন এজেন্সির মধ্যে সমন্বয়ের অভাবের কারণে মানব পাচার বৃদ্ধি পাচ্ছে।
ইয়ং ছেলে এবং মেয়েরা যারা হতাশায় ভুগছে, চাকরি না পেয়ে, তাদেরকে আমি বলবো যে আমাদের যেসব প্রশিক্ষণ ইনস্টিটিউট আছে সারা বাংলাদেশে আপনারা যদি স্কিলের ট্রেনিং নেন, আপনাদের থাকা খাওয়া এবং আমাদের কিছু কিছু জায়গায় আছে যে আমরা থাকা খাওয়া এবং প্রশিক্ষণ দেওয়ার জন্য আমরা স্টাইপেন্ড দিয়ে থাকি। যারা গরিব ফ্যামিলির ছেলেমেয়েরা তারা এই সুযোগ নিতে পারে, নিয়ে তারা যদি স্কিল ডেভেলপমেন্ট করতে পারে তাহলে কিন্তু তাদের দেশে বিদেশে ব্যাপক চাকরির সুযোগ আছে এবং তারা সেলফ এমপ্লয়েডও হইতে পারে। কাজেই আমি ফ্রাস্ট্রেশনে ভোগার কোনো প্রয়োজন নাই। কাজে আমার আহ্বান থাকলো যারা এরকম ইয়ং ছেলেমেয়েরা আছে তারা যেন আমাদের এখান থেকে প্রশিক্ষণ নিয়ে তারা যেন কর্মে নিয়োজিত হয় এবং এবং এটা শিওর যে কেউ যদি স্কিল হতে পারে তার চাকরি দেশে বিদেশের চাকরির কোনো অভাব নেই।
চাকুরি নিয়ে বিদেশে যাবেন? যাওয়ার আগে জেনে নিন সঠিক ও নিরাপদ উপায়ে বিদেশ যেতে হলে জনশক্তি কর্মসংস্থান ও প্রশিক্ষণ ব্যুরো থেকে রিক্রুটিং এজেন্সির সঠিকতা, ভিসা, চুক্তিপত্র, অন্যান্য তথ্য যাচাই করে নিন। বিদেশে যাওয়ার আগে লাভ ক্ষতির হিসাব করুন। বিদেশ যাওয়ার আগে জেলা কর্মসংস্থান ও জনশক্তি অফিস থেকে নাম রেজিস্ট্রেশন করে আপনার নিরাপদ বিদেশ যাত্রা নিশ্চিত করুন। বিদেশ যাওয়ার আগেই কাজের চুক্তিপত্র দেখতে হবে এবং যাচাই করতে হবে। কাজের চুক্তিপত্র দেখা অভিবাসী কর্মীর অধিকার।
Wow, it is a tragic story. I just can say thank you to Ishak, Josna, Hanif, and Russell for your courage in telling your stories. Your stories reveal the already vulnerable situation of millions of migrants in Asia Pacific and Middle East region. Prior to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, millions of migrants like Ishak, Josna, Hanif, and Russell were already victimized and commodified by their recruiters, set agents, and employers. The pandemic crisis is still grappling us. Millions of migrants who lost their jobs, stranded, and became more vulnerable to trafficking and modern slavery.
Yes, Khalid. Yet our next story is a story of Humaira Zamiri, an Afghan refugee taking refuge in Indonesia. Her family is one of the more than 2.6 million Afghan refugees forced to leave their country, Afghanistan, due to more than 40 years of conflict, natural disasters, chronic poverty, and food insecurity. She's the co-founder and project manager of Jakarta Bersatu project. Now that the country is facing another economic and political crisis after the US abruptly ended its more than 20 years of occupation due to the so-called War on Terror, millions of Afghan people are once again forced to leave the country for fear of persecution and fear of the Taliban. Let us now hear the story of Humaira.
What would you do if you were in my shoes? So here is what happened. In 2015, when I first arrived in Indonesia, the one thing I was the most excited about was going to school. 3 days after I arrived, I met a refugee guy and asked him, "Can you tell me in which school and how I can get admission?" He laughed and said, "You're a refugee now. You're not allowed to study here. In fact, you do not have permission to work, travel interstate, trade, own driver's license, and all the other things enjoyed by those who lead normal lives." It was hard for me to accept what I had heard. After all, I had brought all my school books with me from all over Pakistan in the hope that I would continue studying in Indonesia. And now this guy is telling me that I'm not allowed to study here. But doesn't Article 28 of UNCRC says that children and young people have the right to education, regardless of race, gender, or disability, if they are in detention or if they are refugee? War, oppression, gross inequality, and religious persecution are just some of the reasons why refugees have fled their homelands. Over half of Indonesia's 14,000 refugees are from Afghanistan, like myself, while the rest are from places like Iran, Iraq, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Eritrea. Most of us have been living here between 5 to 10 years. However, Indonesia is not a signatory to the United Nations 1951 Refugee Convention, which means we lack access to even the most fundamental human rights. In 2018, UNHCR in Jakarta reportedly announced that the chances of refugee resettlement are less than 2%, and refugees would need to wait 15 to 25 years before getting resettled in a third country. This long wait and uncertainty cause many refugees suffer from mental health issues. In the past 5 years, I came to know of at least 11 refugees in Indonesia who had been driven to end their lives out of sheer depression and a longing for escape. There were refugees who died at hospitals because of the lack of attention of agencies to their health problems. Not being able to work, many refugees live impoverished lives in a very challenging condition. Most of refugees suffer from health issues. Only few of us have access to healthcare assistance. We need to wait for months and a year to get approval from UNHCR for doctor visit. Only the lucky ones get approval. Our productive age is just being wasted because we do not have access to higher education, cannot practice our career and professions. As a refugee, I can only dream about going to university or to all the other places my heart desires. Depression and anxiety are constant companions and have been since the moment my rights were taken away from me. It is heart-wrenching. It's unsettling. There is a never-ending precariousness about my future. There is no break. I have to fight and stay strong every single day in order to survive. To find the courage, I need to move forward even without the promise of an outcome. Above all, what is happening in Afghanistan right now has broken the hearts of Afghan refugees into pieces. We are all sad, shocked, hopeless, helpless, and are left with no options. We are worried about our loved ones who are stuck in Afghanistan and are living under the wild Taliban. Our girls and women are not allowed to go to school or work. All their rights are taken away from them. Taliban are killing and torturing innocent people every single day. They have turned my country into hell and the land of monsters. Yet, the world has closed their eyes and ignored us. What was the point of those 20 year sacrifices that many troops gave? Afghan people gave. Billions of dollars were invested. Thousands of people were killed just for nothing. Taliban are a big threat to the entire world as Afghanistan is becoming a safe haven for the rise of terrorism. If Taliban are given political recognition, the second 9/11 accident can happen. The issue has already increased the refugee crisis. Thousands of Afghans left Afghanistan and sought refuge to the neighbor countries, and the rest are still stuck in Afghanistan. I may be safe from persecution and war, but Indonesia is still a cage, and I'm a bird locked inside. I'm a migratory bird or a migratory being who is a citizen of nowhere. Yet I cannot fly in the vast blue and gray sky. So for now, I rest on my back and gaze upwards to watch other birds floating in the air. And I dream about being free one day and flying as high as I possibly can. Working with refugee community, one thing that I have recognized is that refugees can become a great asset and contribute a lot to the host and resettlement countries only if only if they are given the opportunity. Refugees are labeled as unskilled, illiterate, poor, terrorists, burdensome, which is unfairly wrong. Many refugees are highly skillful and talented. You can see the examples in the refugee learning centers or refugee led initiatives. Refugees are writers, poets, artists, doctors, engineers, or teachers. But the law says they cannot be who they are. They can only be refugees. And I want to change that. Yes, we are people with sad stories, and we are the victims of politics of superpower countries. But that does not uh, define who we are, and that's not everything about us. We maybe we know the value of peace and love even more than others do, because we know what does not living in peace mean. How hatred can poison lives as it has poisoned ours. We are very strong and resilient. We have to fight and stay strong every single day in order to survive. To find the courage, we need to move forward even without the promise of an outcome. Now, here's a question for you. How would you react, or what would you do next time if you see someone labeling refugees as illiterate, burdensome, or terrorists? Think about that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Humaira Zamiri, for your courage in telling your story. I hope we can find the best solution to our problem, especially the refugee problem, as our common problem, because we stand in solidarity with Afghan people in their struggle for justice, freedom, and democracy. Okay, our third story is a story of female seafarer. Veronica Faderoga is a seafarer working at Voyagers of the Sea. There are more than 1.5 million seafarers around the globe, primarily composed from the Philippines, China, Indonesia, India, Russian Federation, and Ukraine. Shipping, as managed by millions of seafarers, serves as the lifeblood of global economy. Without shipping, intercontinental trade, the bulk transport of raw materials, and the import-export of affordable food and manufactured goods would simply not be possible. Our story narrates the ordeal of millions of seafarers amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Thousands of them are abandoned, neglected, and remain stranded in many seas and seaports in Singapore, Japan, Thailand, Australia, among others. Veronica's story revealed the story of millions of seafarers' undying hope and struggle towards full recognition of their rights and welfare.
Thank you, Khalid. Friends, let us now hear Veronica's story.
Magandang araw po.
Okay, I think we are having some technical issues. We apologize for that, but the video will come up in a little while. So, yeah, and as we are waiting for the video, just for everyone to know, we have a lot of stranded seafarers, particularly in China right now. As far as I know, there are 4 ships that are being stranded, full of seafarers from the Philippines, and that the Migrant International is working on that and for immediate repatriation in coordination with the Department of Foreign Affairs. Yeah, and let's go back to the story of Veronica.
Magandang araw po. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Hello po. Pagbati po mula po on board the Voyagers of the Sea. Ako nga po pala ay nagtatrabaho bilang isang babaeng seafarer. Nais ko po i-share sa inyo kung ano po yung kalagayan ngayon ng mga cruise ship. Madami pong barko sa iba't ibang parte po ng mundo na ganito po. Nakaangkorahe lang po kami ngayon. Isa lang po yung barko namin sa libu-libong mga cruise ship na naka-park, kumbaga nakaangkorahe. Ito po, ang dami po namin dito. Dito po kami ngayon sa labas po ng Singapore. Ayan po, kasama po namin sa kumpanya namin. Isa pa, ayun pa po, amin yun. Meron din po sa unahan at marami pa pong barko dito sa yan po. Nais ko lang po i-share sa inyo kung anong po kung una kong naramdaman nung makita ko, kababalik ko lang po sa barko last January after 1 year na wala po akong trabaho. Kagaya po ng maraming mga seafarer at kagaya po ng mga asa-asawa ninyo na mga seaman, nawalan din po ako ng trabaho ng like almost a year. Hindi dahil po wala na po akong balik, pero choice ko po yon kasi pinapabalik na po ako kasi sa medical department po ako nagtatrabaho bilang nurse. Actually, isa po kami sa mga key position na nagbe-maintain po ng barko, kasama po ang mga maintenance, mga kapitan, mga bridge officer. So kailangan po nila ng medical team on board para po masiguro na safe po lahat at matugunan po ang kanilang pangangailangan pangkalusugan. Anyway po, gusto ko po ipahagi sa inyo kung ano po yung una kong naramdaman nung pagdating ko po after 1 year. Nung makita ko po lahat ng barkong nandito, hindi ko po ma-explain, pero sobrang bigat po ng pakiramdam ko. Hanggang ngayon na nakakadalawang buwan na po ako, bawat nakikita ko po lahat ng barkong hindi gumagalaw, nakaangkorahe lang. Naiisip ko po yung aking mga kabaro na seaman, ano na po ang kanilang buhay. Bagamat alam ko na hindi po madali, kasi sabi ko nga po kanina, nawalan po ako hindi po ako nagtrabaho ng 1 taon. Mahirap kasi lahat po ng savings ko nailabas talaga lahat. Hindi lang po nailabas, kundi kinailangan ko rin po na, tulad po ng ibang mga may bahay, gumawa ng paraan na magbenta ng ganito, gawin yung ganito, maghalaman, kung ano-ano, para lang maitawid yung pang-araw-araw na pagkain, monthly bills. Alam ko po, ramdam ko po na mahirap. Pero marami po akong natutunan at kumbaga sabi ka po ng madami na nakaranas dahil sa naranasan po nating pandemya, marami pong na-realize ang mga tao. Isa po yun yung kahalagahan ng pamilya. Nakita ko po yun kung gaano po kahalaga na ang magulang pala dapat nasa tabi talaga ng anak. Lalo po sa akin na isa po akong ina, isa po akong single mom. Napakahirap po. Nung tumigil po ako ng 1 taon, mas nakilala ko po yung anak ko ng lubusan. Mas actually ayaw nga po niya akong pabalikin sa ngayon sa pagbabarko. Nakita ko po kung ano po yung mga pagkukulang ko. Nakita ko po at marami po akong na-discover na pwede naman po pala ako magluto na dating hindi ko naman po nagagawa yon. Mas nagkaroon po ako ng confident na mas maalagaan po yung pamilya ko. At isa pa po, may na-realize din po ako na dapat po pala talaga habang may trabaho, nag-iimpok po talaga ang isang OFW, especially po sa mga seaman na tulad po namin. Kasi po 'di ba may kasabihan nga po tayo o joke na ang seaman daw is one day millionaire pagkababa ng barko, pakain dito, pa-shopping dito, painom dito. Ako po kasi naging matalino na po ako pagdating po sa aking kinikita. Masasabi ko po na isa po ako sa pinagpala kasi nung panahon ng kasagsagan po ng pandemya, salamat at nung panahong malakas pa po ang kitaan, talaga pong nag-ipon po ako para sa sarili ko, para sa anak ko, at malaki pong tulong sa akin na may naidukot po ako. Sa akin po ang naging source of income ko ay yung marami po kasi akong kinuha ng mga insurance. Talagang siya po yung naging katuwang ko the entire 2020. At ako din po, naging matalino din po ako ng mga panahon na yun kasi talaga pong nag-invest po ako. Halimbawa, pag may lupa na kaya ko naman pong iutang sa bangko, so nagagawa ko po yun at natapos ko na rin. So isa po siya na kumbaga dahil kailangan ko po ng pera, pwede kong ibenta po yun. Ganun din po na nakapag-impok din po ng, alam niyo po, yung mga kaya pong investment. So ang pinupunto ko po dito is napaka-importante na habang kumikita po ang ating mga asawa or ikaw mismo, talagang makita natin na pagbibigyan natin ng halaga yung mga kinikita natin. So, ngayon, sa pagbabalik ko, marami akong nakausap ng mga kabaro kong mga seaman. Ngayon, sabi nila, kailangan talaga maging wais daw, maging wais sa pag-handle ng pera. Kasi lahat po, niwala po ako isang seaman na hindi nagreklamo kung gaano po sila nahirapan. Kasi talagang apektado po lahat. Halos yung iba po nilang anak na i-transfer po nila sa public school. Hindi po madali yun. Siyempre mabigat po yun bilang mga magulang. Pero hindi ko po sinasabi lahat yung mga naranasan ko yun para po i-down po kayo. Dito po ako para i-remind po tayong lahat na tulad ko po, makakabalik din po tayo ng trabaho o yung mga asawa ninyo. Kailangan lang po talaga nating yung pagkasyahin kung ano yung kinikita natin ngayon. Kumbaga kailangan po natin na maging papasensyoso pa. At higit sa lahat, lahat po ng tao ngayon, wala naman po tayong matatakbuhan talaga. At talagang panalangin at kapit lang talaga sa Diyos. Lahat po ng ito may katapusan. Hindi naman po, hindi po lahat ng panahon may paghihirap. Hindi po lahat ng panahon, may solusyon po ito. So, kailangan lang po natin na magpakatatag. Kailangan lang din po natin na mag-antay at bilang isang medical practitioner po or isang health worker, kung gusto po natin na ito po ay matapos na, kailangan po natin magkaroon din po ng disiplina pagdating sa health protocols ng government at ma-achieve natin to kaunti na lang may vaccine na tayo. So sana po huwag tayong mawalan ng pag-asa. Makakabangon din po tayo. Hindi puro bagyo. Darating din po ang pagsikat ng maayos na panahon. Hindi palaging gabi. darating din po ang umaga. Kanina nga po nakita ko po yung yung sunset. Sabi ko, pag bawat nakikita ko yung sunset, ay salamat sa Diyos kasi darating din po ang sunrise. Yun po yung sunrise na panibagong pag-asa, panibagong paninimula. So sana po wag po tayo mawawalan ng pag-asa at kumapit lang po tayo. Kakayanin natin to. Kaunting paano ba yun? Paano ko sasabihin? Kaunting baluktot lang po sa ating mga kumot. So mula po dito on board sa Voyager of the Sea, ayan. Kaya natin. Babalik ang mga marinong matatag at ang mga marinong Pilipino, especially po makakabangon po ang mga marinong mga babae. Yun lang po, hindi po ako masyadong magaling sa
Thank you, Veronica, for sharing your story. Her story is made possible through the help of Migrant International, a global alliance of Filipino migrants, and Sea Network, a global alliance of organizations and individuals fighting for the rights of seafarers. We stand in solidarity with millions of seafarers in fighting for justice, human rights, and humane treatment at work. Khalid, at this point, after hearing the stories of Ishak, Josna, Hanif, Russell, Humaira, and Veronica, who have gone through the stories of being an economic migrant, a stranded seafarer, and a refugee, let us give way to a faith response from a church leader actively supporting the cause for justice, human rights, and welfare of millions of migrants, refugees, and other displaced people. Bishop Antonio Ablon is a bishop of the Iglesia Filipina Independiente, Diocese of Pagadian, Zamboanga del Sur, here in the Philippines. His outspoken criticism of the large mining companies in the Philippines and of the unabated extrajudicial killings under the Duterte government made him a target of threat and persecution by state agents and paramilitary groups in the country. Bishop Ablon, or Bishop Tonyo as we call him, himself had to flee from Mindanao for safety and security. He is now based in Europe where he continued to chaplain OFWs, or overseas foreign workers, and seafarers in Europe.
Blonde's reflection. Let us first watch a cultural presentation entitled Mandaragat, or Seafarer. The song honors the heroism of Filipino seafarers in the context of forced migration. It expresses the joy, pain, hardships, as well as the exploitation they experience on board ship and ashore, which are often unseen and unrecognized by many. It conveys hope by calling for collective action and solidarity for the promotion and protection of their rights and welfare.
Kagitingan mo'y hinahangaan. Mandaragat, sipat mo ay pinagpupugayan. Isulong ang kapakanan, isulong ang karapatan. Bangay ka ng hanging mapanghamon sa bayang salat sa pagkakataon. Sa bawat paglayag dalay pag-asa, masaganang buhay para sa bayang sinta. Ipagpupuli namin kayong malalakas, makulong ang nakalutang, pilit na pumipiglas. Init at lamig ninyo iniinda para sa bayan at pamilya. Mandaragat, katitingan mo'y hinahangaan. Mandaragat, sipag mo'y pinagbubugayan. Sulong ang kapakanan, isulong ang karapatan.
Sa kuna, disgrasya, pangungulila at pandemya, parang aninong pumubuntot, nagbabanta sunod-sunod. Gahigating alot, dambuhan ng danuyong, umuungol na unos, iyong sinusuon. Mandaraga, kagitingan mo hinahangat. Mandaraga, sipag mo ay pinagpupugayan. Isulong ng kapakanan, isulong ng karapatan.
Magagandang tanawin iyong nakikita, ngunit wala nang gaganda pa sa sariling bansa. Masaganang buhay sana'y marating, bansa at pamilya tuluyan ng makapiling. Mandaraga,
Sistemang padaya,
ahit siyang mapagsamantala.
Dinig kayo, sasamahan namin kayo. Paglalayag na magpapalaya. Mandaragat, kagitingan mo'y hinahangaan. Mandaragat, sipag mo ay pinagpupugayan. Isulong ang kapakanan, isulong ang karapatan, isulong ang karapatan, isulong ang karapatan.
Good day, everyone, and thank you, Jimmery, and thank you, Khalid, and for this opportunity. I also want to inform everyone that Kiribati seafarers are also stranded here in Germany for months already, and in also in Fiji. Here is my reflection for this program. We are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Honestly, I just realized when I became a seafarer's pastor that I didn't know much about seafarers before. I had the following pictures, for example, of a seafarer. Seafarers are happy because they travel around the world for free and with pay. They are rich and have many advantages in life. In the Philippines, we see the beautiful and snappy uniforms they wear at the Maritime Academy. Here, I asked my German colleague on what kind of picture he had on the seafarers, and he said, before I came to the seafarers mission, I didn't know much either. I'm from Neugraben here in Hamburg, and we used to go to the Elbe River to look at the ships. I knew that there were only a few German seafarers left, and it was not an easy job. But what do they look like? I will also have thought of seafarer's shirt and a captain's hat. That's his answer. But seafarers look very different on board in their work clothes or normal clothes. I also know now, and it was also a surprise to me that most of the seafarers on the Baltic Sea come from the Philippines. Around a quarter of the world's seafarers come from my home country. Our country consists of 7,100 islands, and you often must go by ship. But I also didn't know that so much of what we have or what we need every day comes by ship. I only learned as a seafarer's pastor that 90% of the global movement of goods is transported by ship. And I realized that behind a lot of things, there is a seafarer who brought them to us. But it's almost like they are invisible. I mean, the people live here in Hamburg and in the Philippines, see the ships, and yet nobody thinks, or it is not a vivid picture to them, that there are people living and working on board and have significant role in almost all of what we have, what we wear, what we eat, drink, and use every day of our lives. When Jesus said, "You are the light of the earth, you are the salt of the earth and the light of the world," it means that the whole world is at stake. The seafarers are like people in the dark. Nobody sees them. That's why we must bring light into this darkness so that they can be seen. That's what we do in the seafarers mission, for example. We go ourselves to the ships, see the seafarers, and listen to them and tell them about some other information that they might need. Filipino seafarers are usually on board for 9 months, away from home and family. They rarely have contact with home and can rarely get off the ship. There are always the same colleagues on board and a lot of work. Most of them work 7 days a week or 70 to 90 hours a week. There is not much energy left. I often met seafarers who have been on board for months and they are just very, very, very tired. The German seafarers, on the one hand, work for months on board, 4 months, and then are at home for the next 2 months. But they cannot even plan for that. But better for them because they are regular employees, have a total of 4 months holiday with pay per year and only 8 months on board. That is 4 months straight, then a vacation for 2 months straight, and still received their salary. But even then, a Filipino seafarer once told me that his colleague or a German colleague complained that he had been on board for over 4 months. And the wages are also different. Filipinos get a lot less. And they say that's a lot of money for those at home. That is also the picture in the Philippines. Seafarers are rich. That is right. When I was there, people said at every big house, a seafarer lives here or in this house. That is true sometimes, but it's not that much either. Especially when everyone thinks you are a rich or you are rich because you are a seafarer. Then the nephew, the niece, the uncle, aunties, friends, sisters, brothers come and ask, can you buy me a great Nike shoes that only cost $200? When I ask Filipinos why they go to the sea or become seafarer, do you know what they answer? They said, sure, I sacrifice myself for my family. And there is a lot of sacrifice involved here. The long time separation and much more. Going to the sea is dangerous. The second most dangerous job in the world. In addition to the long working hours, there is a lot of stress on board. It's always loud around the clock and the ship vibrates very strongly. And a lot of things that are easy to do on land are not possible on board. Many ships have no internet for seafarers, offline for weeks. Imagine that. When you bring them SIM cards on board, they get hundreds of messages. In between, there are only text emails or the expensive satellite phone. Of course, they are happy when someone else comes on board, like me, for example, from the Seafarers Mission. Finally, they have someone to talk to. They tell me what is wrong on board. They can then complain under maritime law or the maritime labor law. But most of the time, they don't dare because they only have temporary contracts. I learned that in the Philippines, it is forbidden for Filipino seafarers to have fixed contracts. So, there is still a lot to do, to be done before things get fair on board the ships. And that is why we are pushing and advocating for the Magna Carta for Filipino seafarers, at least in the Philippines. I hope that can be approved, but I think that has been there in the Congress for years already. In the Psalms, in 107, we can read about seafarers or the merchants of the sea. It said, they mounted up to the heavens and went down to the depths. In their peril, their courage melted away. They reeled and staggered like drunkards. They were at their wits' end. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distress. He stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed. They were glad when it grew calm, and he guided them to their desired heaven. It has become a lot more modern now and better since the time of the Psalm, but some things are familiar. Even today, storms are dangerous for every ship and the people on board. And they went up to heaven and sunk into the abyss, that their soul despaired of fear, that they reeled and staggered like a drunkard and didn't know what to do, just like in the Psalm. That still happens today also, that the souls of the seafarers are in despair with fear. We in the Seafarers Mission take care of the seafarers, but rarely does a shipping company tell us, because they say that seafarers are tough. They can do it. And the corona pandemic is also like much a storm for the seafarers. It goes up and down, and they are at the mercy. They're afraid of the virus. They are on board many months longer than planned. Many have not gone ashore for 6 or even 18 months. And then it is said that seafarers are systematically important, but nobody sees them. In fact, they are still at the mercy of the pandemic. Only 25% of them are vaccinated. The Psalm says they should talk about it, but they can't because they are still on the ships. And when they are on land, nobody can imagine or can feel what they say about storms, about how they are treated in normal times, and especially in the pandemic. People say it's seafarer's thread. So we need to shed some light on it. That is our task as Christians, to be the light of the world and the salt to the earth, and talk about what is not going well. That's our task. But what can people do? Tell about what you heard from the seafarers. Pay attention and work to ensure that we get a better supply chain law that also takes seafarers into account. Let us bring them and put the seafarers in the picture, in the whole picture of this supply chain law. For me, this is also the implementation or the living out of the golden rule. Whatever you want people do to you, you do it to them too. But of course, it's not about what I would like to do to the other person, but rather what is good for them. And for this, it is important to put myself, to put ourselves in the other person's perspective, to see the world through their eyes, through their lenses. We must practice that today with the seafarers. For many, this might certainly be a new perspective, a new view of the world. but we can do this. This changes a lot. That is the example that Jesus set for us to discover other perspectives, to see people who are overlooked, like the seafarers, and also the migrants and the refugees, the poor farmers and the workers, the urban poor. And then we must act accordingly to become the salt of the earth and the light of the world. May God help us to do this. Amen. Amen. And amen. God bless you.
Your critical reflection about the situation of, I think, the workers all over the world and their contribution to the work life. And now, let me and Snap deliver to you the uh, the overview of news and concerns of Talitha Cumi in the region. Through this segment, we would like to share with you news and responses of migrants and faith communities in the region, upholding the rights and welfare of migrants and refugees.
Yes, thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Khalid. To start, the Asia Pacific Mission for Migrants is inviting us all to the second virtual Migrants ECHO conference on the Asia Pacific Regional Review of the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration, happening on 21st of October 2021. That is Thursday at 1 p.m. Hong Kong time. The second Migrants Echo builds on the unities and recommendation of the first Migrants Echo by further strengthening and encouraging collaborative advocacy and actions towards realizing an open, inclusive, and meaningful GCM process for migrants' participation while working towards amplifying migrants' issues, demands, and enhancing state accountability to the GCM commitments. Through this meeting, we also hope to agree on and develop next steps in migrants and CSO engagement in the International Migration Review Forum, which is happening next year. The second Migrants Echo is being co-organized by the Asia Pacific Mission for Migrants, together with the Asia Pacific Forum on Women, Law and Development, Asia Pacific Refugee Rights Network, Asia Pacific Research Network, Bunigi Monitoring, Churches Witnessing with Migrants, Coordination of Action Research on AIDS and Mobility or CARAM Asia, Films for Peace Foundation, International Detention Coalition, the International Migrants Alliance Asia Pacific, and the Union Network of Migrants or UNIMIG First Union. To pre-register for this event or for other information, please connect to Reverend Joram to the Inform or APMM Facebook page. Another one is the National Council of Churches in the Philippines, together with the Ecumenical Bishops Forum, Manila Episcopal Area, and Philippine Central Conference Board of Church and Society of the United Methodist Church, United Church of Christ in the Philippines, the Iglesia Filipina Independiente, and Ecumenical Voice for Human Rights and Peace in the Philippines, or EcuVoice, will be holding an international ecumenical solidarity gathering for human rights and peace in the Philippines. This online activity will be on October 7, 2021 at 7 to 9 in the evening, Philippine Standard Time, a day before the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights will report to the UN Human Rights Council on the implementation of its October 2020 resolution on technical cooperation and capacity building for the promotion and protection of human rights in the Philippines. Other news, Khalid?
Thank you, Snap. And there is also a Bethune House migrant women refugee. It is a migrant surfing institution in Hong Kong. It is a home away from home for women migrant workers in distress seeking justice, established in September 1986, registered as charity shelter. Bethune House migrant women's refugee is turning 35 years old this year. With them, Bethune House, grateful and hopeful at 35, Bethune House hopes to gather its friends, supporters, and former residents once again safely in an online program. The Bethune House has sheltered migrant women since its establishment in 1986. With the pandemic, the situation of migrant women has worsened. More migrant women are in need of shelter and food assistance. The past year alone, Bethune House sheltered 940 migrant women in crisis, almost a 30% increase compared to the yearly average previously. This is a testament to how needed shelters are and how migrant women need all the help they can get. The years have witnessed how Bethune House strove to provide shelter and access justice for migrant women in crisis, and this was done with your help. So, we are about to end this program. It is my pleasure to co-host this Talitha Cumi with you, Snap. We would like to thank the Interfaith Network for the Rights of Migrants for inviting our organization, the Progressive Islamic Forum, to be part of this network.
Thank you, Khalid. It's nice meeting you and working with you in the past hour. Let us hope that by November, we will be hosting again the next airing of the Talitha Cumi. Wait, that's in the script. I did say that. I'm kidding. But before we end, let us have a closing prayer through a video on Migrants Prayer launched by Inform last year.
O God of life and history, awaken us to the realities of forced displacement of people due to poverty, unemployment, landlessness, war, and conflict. These realities result from economic and political structures, policies, and programs that prioritize and perpetuate profit over people, commodification of labor over rights and welfare, monopoly of resources over public good and sharing, exclusion over inclusion.
God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
Compassionate and merciful God, 94 million migrants, 12 million refugees are in countries with recorded COVID-19 infection in Asia, across the Pacific and the Middle East. Their already vulnerable situations are aggravated by this pandemic, further exacerbated by policies that continue discrimination, xenophobia, various forms of exclusion. As this pandemic ravages and rampages, there's so many of them losing their jobs, their livelihood, any form of economic and social relief. Some of them are being forced to leave without any support, many of them.
Oh God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
O God, listen to their cries and lamentations. They are victims of abuse, exploitation, trafficking, and modern slavery. They who are forced to flee become undocumented and victims of violent crackdown. They who are deprived of social services, and some suffer from domestic abuse. Some work for long hours without decent accommodation or sufficient food. Those who are unjustly treated or detained, and their lives are on the brink of execution. They who are displaced by wars and conflicts, ecological destructions, and even political persecution.
God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
Oh God, be with us as we urge house governments of the Asia Pacific and Middle East regions to uphold the well-being of millions of migrants, refugees, and uprooted people living and working in their countries. May they implement policy reforms that promote equal protections, decent work, and service assistance regardless of person status. May they desist in implementing the policies and regulations that perpetuate and promote discriminations, exclusions, xenophobia, abuse, exploitations, trafficking, and modern slavery.
O God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
O God, empower us as we call sending governments to address the root causes of forced migration. May they realize that there is no genuine and lasting development from treating people as commodities. They must prioritize creating opportunities for people to live decently and humanely in their home country. They must address the desperation of millions who are left with no choice but to leave their families behind and work abroad. May they leave high credence to the interests of these migrants, provide them with necessary service and protection, ensure that their rights and welfare are upheld at all times.
O God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
O God, let us as we engage with international bodies discussing migration, let us not deny the impact of neoliberal policies that promote commodification and flexibilization of labor, plunder and monopoly of world resources, and wars that perpetuate underdevelopment and poverty. International bodies such as the United Nations and the International Organization on Migration are tasked to review the Global Compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration. May GCM reflect the realities of migrants from and based on perspective on the comprehensive rights of migrants. This includes their rights to be heard and included in all processes. Truly, there should be no talks about migrants without migrants.
O God, hear our prayer and empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
God, guide us as we celebrate our diversity as members of faith communities of Christian, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists, finding unity in serving the migrant, refugees, and unrooted people. May our various ministry and programs serve as infrastructure of service, advocacy, and campaign, and sanctuary that affirm the sanctity of life and protection of human rights and dignity. May we continue our solidarity and accompaniment until the realization of your kingdom of justice compassion, and abundant life prevails.
O God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
O God, strengthen the commitment of migrant serving institutions who in their steadfast dedication to serve and empower migrants, refugees, and abandoned people are also facing difficulties, harassment, and intimidation.
May they continually provide timely and relevant service and assistance to individuals and groups in need of help. May they find support from individuals, communities, and groups who are enlightened by their kind of service and dedication that uphold the very essence of humanity and compassion.
Oh God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity.
Abide in us, O God, as we seek every opportunity of collaboration with various faith communities, migrant serving institutions, and grassroots migrants that could strengthen our partnership and cooperation so that we could fully contribute to our aspiration of a just and humane society.
O compassionate and merciful God, hear our prayer. Empower us to stand for justice, human rights, and dignity. We pray.
May this bond be instruments of realizing your kingdom, where every migrant, refugee, and uprooted person live decently, abundantly, and justly, and where abuse, exploitation, discrimination, exclusion, trafficking, and modern slavery do not exist. Amen.
Okay, Khalid, in our last few minutes, we would like to thank everyone who joined us in today's airing of Talitha Cumi. Hope you can join us again once more on the fourth Friday of November this year. In cooperation and solidarity, we can help in empowering the migrants. Thus, we can say, Talitha Cumi.
Talitha Cumi.